Hello, welcome. Christine Weber here. I love supporting mature yoga teachers, getting their wisdom out there into the world. And this is my weekly live stream. I try and do it on Wednesdays. I look like I'm a little crooked today. Sorry about that. I try and do it on Wednesdays around 11. I was a little late today. That's better. So today I want to talk to you about the practice of yoga as a practice and what it means to create a habit out of yoga practice and why you would want to do that. So I think oftentimes in our culture, yoga gets relegated to this idea of a fitness. You see it all over the place. It gets relegated as another one of the fitness modalities. So you have like yoga, and then you have Pilates, and you have Zumba and HIIT and whatever else, whatever trendy thing is going on, Soul Cycle or whatever. So we see that a lot. We see it happening a lot. And yoga gets kind of categorized as one of these fitness menu things. But yoga is really different. Like technically, yoga is quite different than that. Yoga is really about a self transformation process. So whereas I think it's great to take yoga classes, I'm a yoga teacher. I love teaching yoga. It's really different than developing the habit yourself. And I don't know that we make enough of a differentiation about that in the yoga world. Recently I've been seeing a lot of posts on Instagram and Facebook about how yoga is not good exercise. Have you seen those? Like it doesn't make you strong. It's too hypermobile. And it certainly deserves a lot of critique, especially that really hypermobile stuff that's out there. It deserves a lot of critique because it's not really that healthy for you. And now that information is coming out, people are questioning and they're like, oh, I need to do more weightlifting and I should stop doing yoga. I don't really like yoga. I've seen a lot of that lately. Even in my town, I'm seeing that happen, right? So is this the decline of yoga? I don't think so. I think it's a shift towards the authenticity of what yoga is really supposed to be, which is a personal transformation practice using asanas to regulate the nervous system and improve physiologic function so that the mind is clearer, so that you can do pranayama practices that help you to regulate your nervous system further, so that you can meditate and understand more deeply who you are and find a deeper sense of identity and be able to transform the karmic residue, the samskaras that are dysfunctional and that are unconscious and that come from lifetimes or history of our ancestors, right? Oh, that's a totally different thing than lifting weights, And by the way, I lift weights. I love lifting weights, but it's not the same thing as my yoga practice. And we conflated all that stuff, right? So if you want to have a regular practice, think about the goal of your practice. Is the goal of your practice self-knowledge, undoing some of those dysfunctional idiosyncratic behaviors and thought patterns that we have, and learning more about who you are and becoming a better part of yourself and self-actualizing? That when you think about that, that's an entirely different thing than getting, a yoga butt. And if that's the focus of your practice, then it makes sense that you have a daily practice because you are committed to that goal, right? So I had told you I had three steps. It's actually 4, but that first one is really about commitment. It's like I commit to myself. I commit to these ancient, perennial, beautiful practices that are going to help me change and come into the world in a more show up in the world in a more solid way. Just show up in service to be able to let go of the stuff that doesn't serve me and isn't helpful for my relationships or my community. And if you think about it that way, and it makes sense. Okay, I need to have a practice. So I'm going to commit to that practice. And the commitment can be 2 minutes, right? 1 minute, 2 minutes is better. I commit to 2 minutes of practice. meditation, pranayama, asana, all of it in 2 minutes. Start with that commitment. And it's like an atomic habit, they call it, like I start with this little habit I want to create. And then the next step in that is, well, even maybe before that, is limit the distractions, because this world is set up to distract you. But we used to just have the distraction of shopping and gossip and television, and now we have the distraction of the internet, which is light years, ahead of that distraction on the that we used to have, like when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s. Now we have this like incredibly intense distraction of the internet, and all the social media stuff. So how do we limit that? One simple way to do it, I'm not saying disengage from it. If you want to, great, but limit it by phone stays out of the bedroom and out of the yoga space, especially in the morning. So no phone in the morning. I wake up, maybe some cold water, brush your teeth, whatever you have to do. Sorry about my phone making noises back there. And then I'm going to show up. I'm going to show up for my 2 minutes and do my practice. Make sure the practice is joyful, or at least pleasant, if not joyful. The minute the practice becomes something on your list you have to scratch off and it's short, like it loses all of the love, so practice for love. Fall in love with yourself, with your practice, fall in love with your breath, fall in love with your body, fall in love with the wisdom of the tradition. That falling in love with the practice makes the commitment. So, right? Like you commit to a relationship because of love. And that's the way we should commit to all of the healthy habits too, because I love myself. I want to commit to this. So limit distractions. And then the third tip is create a groove in the space-time continuum. This is one of my favorite ones. And that's the way I think about it, is like every day at the same time in the same place. Sometimes you see that hashtag yoga every damn day. Like that's it, every day, same time, same place, 2 minutes. When I do it every day in the same time, of course, not when you're traveling or whatever, but when I do it every day in the same time in the same place, it's like my ritual, that thing that I love showing up for, that thing that feels so good, that thing that makes me feel like I'm alive and like my life is, and I have some sense of agency. That's really important, because so many of our habits, the brain is what's called neurofrugal. And that means it will put things on autopilot so it doesn't have to think about them. And it puts anything on autopilot that you do over and over again, whether it's, drinking whiskey every night or doing yoga in the mornings. Like you're going to be making coffee, like that stuff all goes on autopilot. So we want to leverage that by making healthy habits, but also we want to be honest with ourselves and know that when we're really in a dysfunctional habit, like I used to do this with my Marlboro Lights for a few years. I was pretty addicted. I didn't have any sense of agency. That habit controlled me. I wasn't controlling that habit. Whereas the opposite is true with meditation. You can never get addicted to it in a way that you get addicted to a substance, because it's something you have to put effort into and you have to show up for, and you have to limit the distractions to be able to show up for it and actually engage in it. So as we limit the distractions, as we make the commitment, as we create that groove in the space-time continuum, it gives us a sense of agency. It gives us a sense of, this is what I can do. This is how I can control or have some control over my mind, over my body, over my nervous system, over my digestion, whatever, we start to be able to influence it. And agency is everything. Like feeling like you have some control is everything, because there are so many parts of our lives that we have no control over. Do the right thing. Let go of the outcomes of your actions, because it may never, that's yoga in a nutshell, it may never, even though you do all the right things, you still may some days not feel like practicing, or you have these challenges that limit you from practicing. Oh, by the way, not feeling like practicing is not a way to let yourself off the hook, because you committed to 2 minutes. Okay, the last thing I want to say, this is like my fourth tip in the 3 tips, is cues can be really helpful. So I don't think you can see it, but I have a yoga mat back there. I'm really washed out today for some reason. I think it's just sunny, too backlit. But anyway, so yoga mat in the house is really helpful. There was a time when I had like 3 yoga mats. I had one in my office space and one in my bedroom, and I had one in the living room, because I was struggling to get to the mat. So sometimes we have to do that. We have to put the cues around, or maybe it's sticky notes, or maybe it's a timer on your phone. My phone seems to be going off over there. Those sorts of things can be super helpful in getting us, in giving us the reminders that we want to get to the practice. So practice is practice. And the way you get to the practice is through a commitment, limiting distractions, having good boundaries, and creating a habit. Don't think that habits happen after 21 days. I don't know where that came from, but it's not scientifically. There's no proof behind that. Really, habits are different depending on everybody. Some people make a habit in 1 day, and some people take 6 months. So you know who you are. Take your time doing it. Commit. Start with 2 minutes, atomic habits, and over time, that habit can grow. I hope this is helpful. Hey, if you want to study with me every week, I teach the Subtle Yoga Resilience Society live on Wednesday mornings, Eastern Time, at 9:30 Eastern Time. You are always welcome to join. Everything is recorded. You can watch the replays whenever you want. Let me know if you're interested. support@subtleyoga.com, and we'll give you some information about it. Thanks so much for being here. I'll see you next week. Take care.